Let's welcome Adeniyi Ifetayo. He is a media analyst. Good morning, Adeniyi Ifetayo. Happy New Week. Glad to hear from you.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you live in the studio. Adeniyi Ifetayo. It's been a while.
Yes, I planned to come this morning, but yesterday it was different from Bala Blue. I was knocked off my feet.
You are in town?
Yes.
I was tempted to ask which continent you are.
I told somebody to meet me up at the studio. I just dropped a message for him 5 minutes ago that, sorry, yesterday was a long one. We had a football competition I organized within my community to bring the youth together, to speak to them, to inspire them and all of that.
That's a good one.
The final is on the 10th anyway. So very soon I'll be there. Maybe next week I'll try to be at the studio.
We'll look forward to having you.
All right. So I would like to ask you, this morning we're getting this update that Naira is about 1,740 Naira against the dollar. I know the government have brought out different policies and the CBN have tried so much to try and stabilize the Naira. At the point, it stood still at 1,500, then we got to 1,600, now 1,740. What else can we do? Is the CBN doing enough? I know, yes, much of it is because we are importing a whole lot into the country, but what can we do? Should we even declare an emergency on the Naira or something? What can be actually done to redeem the face of the Naira? Or the quality of the Naira?
First and foremost, they need to fight the forces within the system. When I mean to fight the forces within the system, I've made a question. You work with high impact. I can't expect you to be working with high impact and be collecting salary in Radio Nigeria. It's not possible. So do you know that there are some, I stand to be corrected, some officials who they live in Nigeria and they earn their money here, but they are being paid with foreign currency, be it dollar, be it pounds. You understand? So that's what I said. First and foremost, they need to look inward. Even if you work in England, you'll be paid in pounds. If you work in America, you'll be paid, whether you're a foreign worker or international partner, whatever it is, whatever agreement every institution, every government agency, every corporate body has had with some of their foreign partners coming into Nigeria, and they need to bring out a policy that puts an end to that. So you are not going to be paying somebody who works in Nigeria, paying them with foreign currency. It's one of the ways to deplete Naira. And secondly as well, just like I said, all our mineral resources should be sold in Naira. Let the demand for Naira increase, then Naira will be appreciated. Naira will be a money that is sought after, because a lot of foreign nationals, they come to Nigeria, to do their businesses and all of that. But because of we want to do this transaction in dollar, so it's depleting, we are bleeding. Naira is bleeding as we speak. So it does not speak well for us. And above all, I would say it is that CBN also need to tighten their bets. Like someone said, that we don't need foreign reserve, because if we are making all our mineral resources domesticated, you bring your dollar here, you must change it to Naira before you can transact with us, then Naira will begin to appreciate.
Right. I would like to just ask a follow-up question now. We have some organizations. When I say organizations, we have some hospitals, we have some educational institutions in Nigeria that don't even accept Naira as a means of payment. So at this point, whose shoulder or who has the responsibility of regulating these bodies, either before establishment, to state it clearly that you have to operate within the confines of the country, Naira payment and all of that? Whose responsibility is it, and what kind of, if I could use the word, punishment or strategies or measures can be taken against such institutions to ensure that you're in Nigeria, you're operating in Nigeria, people patronizing you are Nigerians, but you don't accept payment in Naira? So how can this be properly managed?
Two things they said that the only thing that is constant is change. So even if the policy that brought them in, even if when they started, initial agreement with the authority or whatever is that will be paid in dollar, whatever it is. And secondly, EFCC is in charge of anything that can sabotage our economy. So if we said exchange in dollar to do a transaction in Nigeria is a sabotage to our economy. So they can give them a grace that whatever transaction you are doing in the next 3 months, let's say, for example, by January next year, 2025, do all your transaction, whatever it is, because we are not going to collect dollar in exchange for a transaction that happens in Nigeria. You understand what? As long as you reside, as long as your business reside in Nigeria, as long as you transact in Nigeria, it must be done in naira. So they need to give them a period of grace, that maybe 3 months or 6 months, because it's not easy. Then they will understand that yes, things change, and of course, like they say, if you take over a business, you take over both liability and asset, and you begin to readjust, look at everything critically. If you want to save our economy, if you want to save naira, all those people should be go after. You write them a letter. Yes, we know when you came in, this was the agreement, but things have changed now. It's sabotaging our economy, whether be it education institution, whether be it hospital or whatever hospitality service you are providing. Every transaction must be naira based, because we want to grow our naira. And of course, let's encourage our people to patronize made in Nigeria. It will only get better. It's just like a foundation. If you want to erect one fantastic building, duplex, whatever it is, digging, putting all those peg and all of that, it looks very rough. Like my slogan, that most time, whatever thing that may have a glorious end, may somehow have a rough beginning. Naira is coming back by a special grace of God. I want to be hopeful, and I wish it's come to pass. It will.
So what about us borrowing outside? Is there a possibility that we could borrow in naira? Is that even possible if we're going to borrow from the World Bank, IMF? If we're not borrowing in naira, but repay back in naira, would that help?
No, they might not, because you can't tell a man how to rule his own house. IMF or whatever World Bank, they most time trade, if not in dollar, pounds, or yen, as it were. If you are going there, you know that you live by their rules and regulations. But the only way to reduce that kind of borrowing, by the time you stop what is depleting your income, your resources, what is putting hole in your pocket, you will discover that you can actually live your life without depending on IMF. Just like I saw on the headline this morning, that cost of governance, is one of the baits, is one of the problem or challenges that is depleting our resources. So those are the things that you look at. I thank God for the Mr. President last week that said that any minister that is going for an event or function, reduce your convoy. Maybe sometime you will see like 14 cars, 20 cars and all of that. Even sometimes when the minister is not there, just because, come and meet me so place, and they will put everything, those are the resources that they need to fuel it, they need to repair it, they need to put it in shape and all of that. So who says that sometimes you might not even need it, because even the Bible says that a borrower is a slave to the lender. So they can decide your economy for you, that before we can give you, you need to debase your naira, you need to bring it down, and because you need it, you won't have any option. But if you look inward, we put a stop to those things that is depleting our resources. Tell those foreign nationals that operate here in Nigeria that you must transact your business in naira, or else we can show you the way, out of Nigeria. You see that they will sit tight. But if, like where they say, when there's no law, there's no sin. You understand?
Right. Okay, let's talk about the IMF for a bit now. This morning we have a couple of headlines on the national dailies. The NLC has attacked or criticized the IMF, saying that they are responsible and they are behind Nigeria's economic woes. And this is connected to the story we have on the Punch newspaper, that the NLC has slammed the IMF for their fuel subsidy removal denial. Now, according to the NLC, the IMF denied its responsibility regarding the Nigerian government's recent removal on petrol subsidy. And on the flip side, on the Vanguard newspaper, the IMF is saying that families are hurting from high prices. It's difficult to place both side by side. Let's get your perspective on this and this NLC's accusation to the IMF.
First and foremost, NLC, to me, they got it wrong. If you don't take care of your home, if you don't take care of your responsibility, you might be leaving your responsibility for somebody to decide how you rule your life. It's our leader that approached them every now and then. They need a loan for this, and most of those money, they are not utilized. They are not actually put to that thing that it was meant to do. You understand what I'm saying? So now saying that it was MFM, maybe they are saying it indirectly, because if, just like I said, the Bible is very specific that a borrower is a slave to the lender. It's what they tell you to do, because you need this money, you need these resources, and they will tell you, before we could give it to you, do this and do that, then you will get it. So it's just our leader that we need to hammer on. And don't let us forget, the man who removed the subsidy was never a president, as in it was the first day. It was not even up to 2 hours or 3 hours or 1 hour when he was sworn in as a president. So there will never be any meeting between him and the IMF or saying he wants to go and get loan and all of that. He has not really grabbed the economy, you know.
But let me interrupt you for a bit. Let me interrupt you for a bit, Adeniyi. Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in, we had former President Muhammadu Buhari, and the conversation was Buhari already removed the subsidy and President Tinubu just made it official. Could you say that former president had done some underground work in that regard?
The former president, in fact, the fuel subsidy removal stop, I think it should be May. There was no provision for it from the month of May. So he was just making the statement of what had been put in place. Because if you should continue, and you can't spend anything that had not been allocated, that had not been budgeted for, unless during the times of war, God forbid. You understand what I'm saying? So there was no, even in this that was the 2023 budget, the payment for subsidy, I think, stopped in April or May. I stand to be corrected. So for him just saying it, just like I said, it was not what he discussed with IMF for him to remove subsidy. It was just like you said, just making a pronouncement of what had already been done. So going forward, IMF should not be blamed. Our leaders should look inward, cut the cost of governance. Somebody was suggesting the other day that even this legislative should be done part-time. Having 2 chambers of the National Assembly cost a whole lot of, I'm sure you are here at the beginning of this year when they want to buy SUV and all of that for all our billions of naira, when we are bleeding that there's no money to fix road or to fix hospital and all of that. So they should look inward, cut the cost of governance. It's not IMF. Of course, you can't tell me how to rule my own house. It's your leader that are running, jumping around me that they needed a loan, that they want to do ABC, and I need to give them chance. Let me let you know that to get Nigerian visa is very difficult, very, very expensive. I handled some foreign national a few weeks back. So I was wondering why. What are these people looking for in this country? There's so much here. So just our leader need to look inward, you know, make any of our resources. We are so blessed with natural resources. Domesticate it. Whatever transaction you are doing in Nigeria, if you live in Nigeria, you must spend naira. If you are doing your business in Nigeria, it must be done in naira. And before you know it, that thing, our reserve, and also our reserve should be domesticated. You don't keep money abroad that you are not using while other people are using it to better their environment, and you still go there, you still go and borrow your money and come back again and pay interest on it. You know, come on, it's just a common sense. But like they said, common sense is not common unless it is applied.
All right, Adeniyi, I'd like to shift your attention towards this headline. Dangote backs Tinubu's CNG drive, invest over $280 million in infrastructure and trucks. Now, Dangote went through a lot. He's still going through a lot. He has a court case, although he said he's going to withdraw by January. And we saw the whole back and forth between Dangote and NNPCL. First of all, what are your expectations based on this investment, $280 million investment in trucks and infrastructure towards compressed natural gas?
You know, as a businessman and as an entrepreneur, there's what we call, you must be proactive. If government is saying that they are going towards compressed natural gas, so being that and you operate in that sectors of the economy, and you know you are not just a small player, you are playing big. So you need to put that into calculation. Like if I'm supplying, I have a business that serves not just one local government, not just one state, but I have a business that takes care of the whole 774 local government and all of that. I think you should put so many things in place. So spending that money, yes, he's going to recoup it, and he's projecting his business so that the government or the power that be will say that he doesn't have capacity, to do the distribution of the gas distribution and all of that. And it's a good one for him. It shows that he's a businessman. He knows what he's doing, and so that it can be the government policy. Because before you know it, they will say that if you cannot provide XYZ, they don't think you should. Just like when they refined the first set of crude oil, and they said NNPC will be the only distribution channels. No, just because that one has not been put in place. Like he said, that all the fuel refined in Dangote refinery can be traced. So the era of diverting truck to neighboring country, selling it and all of that has come to an end. So of course, like our former president said, you want to fight corruption, corruption will try to fight you back. So doing that is a kudos to Dangote that he's being a forward-thinking businessman. And I think Nigeria will be, or the masses will be the beneficiary in this regard.
That last statement, I'd like to take you up on that last statement. Now, if you remember, before Dangote came into this whole thing, petrol was about 600, thereabout. And when Dangote came in, we all thought petrol will reduce probably half, 300. But now it wasn't the case. Now, coming into CNG is, President Tinubu said you can buy CNG for 200. But we got reports last week, a caller said it was over 300. So do you think Dangote coming in, and probably NNPC might want to also come in this time around again to get their own larges, do you think that we would actually get CNG at 200 or 300 naira, or it might even go up as a result of price fixing and all that?
It will go down. I'm sure it's the first supply that were made to that. You know, that time during the petroleum, they said Dangote want to sell it so amount. They said, no, come on. You sold this crude oil to me in dollars, so let me sell it back to you in dollar. After I exhausted what you sold to me, then since the Mr. President has said let transaction, be done in naira, we can then look at it in naira. But as a businessman, you don't go in business to make losses or to make loss. You have to have that in mind. Yes, you want to serve the people, and of course, doing that, even if it's a token or a margin, at that as my profit after paying all the overhead expenses. So I'm saying that it will still go down. It's just the same thing that happened initially. By December, you can quote me, you will see that CNG will be minimal, will be reduced, because I'm sure he will have pushed out the first set of delivery that was sold to him, I believe, also in dollar. So after he will exhaust that, the first set of, what was it called, that was supplied to him and refined and all of that, to become compressed natural gas, so that it can be used, domestically and even internationally. It will reduce the price, the price will definitely come down. It's just trying to stabilize 2-3 months. I'm sure we have the accurate price.
Right. We will keep our fingers crossed to see that. But just before we go, this last question on the Punch newspaper, it has to do with the educational sector. Again, varsities face lockdown as workers begin strike today. This is as non-teaching staff shut university offices gates and the ministry is mum. Just last week, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, was part of the people that was relieved of his duties by the president, and we're seeing this as Nasu Sanu workers have embarked on a strike over non-payment of salaries. Two questions: what's your reaction to this? This time around, it's not ASU, but it's still in the educational sector. Secondly, do you think with this rejig in the educational sector, the discharge of duties of the former Minister of Education, do you think we'll see some sort of improvement in this educational sector in terms of payment of withheld salaries and rehabilitation of the whole educational sector at large?
Well, first and foremost, it's in the prerogative of Mr. President to reshuffle the cabinet, so it's not strange. And if you say you want to reshuffle cabinet, I'm sure you have seen a lapses or something that you want to fix. So, but in governance, there shouldn't be vacuum. Even if there's no minister, there should be somebody coordinating or permanent secretary or whatever. So that shouldn't leave a gap, you know. So, and if you look at I don't know now because I've not really taken a look. Education is one of the sectors that received the little of the whole budget, and I think we are crying our leaders of tomorrow. Education is the best legacy, and we are not investing properly into it. Somebody you want to support teaching staff or workers that will make them to have a comfortable or enabling environment to teach our children, our kids, and all of that. We are not taking care of them. That means we want to tamper with the future of these students that you felt that you sent to the University of Polytechnic as it were. Mr. President should look in towards this because it shouldn't be a case in the past where university or workers would be on strike for like 6 months and nothing was done. Everybody kept mum. But I believe President Bola Tinubu is proactive and he should engage them, whatever it is. If they can pay all those National Assembly, all those workers, you know, their payment should be something to a kind of walkover, and they should do that so that they can, you know, back to the school. Yes,
right.
Yes.
Very, very true. That's a wonderful place to wrap up the conversation this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Adeniyi, Ifetayo, media analyst, and for sharing your thoughts with us on these headlines. It's been a delight.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
And